And I was asked back in the early part of 2013 to join the Jobs for Life, and I said no, that wasn't for me. But through the course of having cancer in May, thyroid cancer in May, I didn't have enough funds to pay my bills, and so my church got together and paid my rent and bought my groceries for 2 full months, and that was only through the love of Christ that happened for me too. Once I started to recover, my pastor came alongside and he said, "Julie, there's a chance that you're underemployed, and they're doing Jobs for Life here at RBCC this year. And I think it might be something that you might want to sign up for." So I did. And I remember Althea saying at the first class, "Who thinks they're going to be here at the end of 16 weeks? You guys can't teach me anything.
Who thinks they aren't going to be here?
Aren't going to, okay, you guys know what I'm talking about. Like I said, Regina's a tough act to follow. Who aren't going to be here at 16 weeks, and my hand went straight up because I didn't, I had that attitude a few months ago that I'm not teachable. I am who I am, and I have to be at this job for the rest of my days. I had a very good mentor in the beginning, and she, for personal reasons, had to go out and do her thing, and I got another mentor. Love ya. And her and I are so much alike that it's pathetic, and that's how come we came together to be. Regina and I didn't like each other in the beginning. I'm going to be honest with you. She'll tell you that, and so will I. But, because this is an honest program for me. I don't know about anybody else.
I don't remember not liking you, but okay. Wow.
But we love each other today, and that's what's important. That's what I'm talking about. I can't say we didn't like each other. I'm not trying to turn this into a comedy hour because it really is about this fundraiser and what's important as Jobs for Life. But the reality is that we butted heads a couple of times. And now Sherry's eliminated.
What value did this add to your life?
Okay. She already answered that, so I'm answering. The value that it answered in my life was that, man, those pictures, lights are terrible. I'm sorry. Anyway, now I lost my train of thought, Sherry.
What value? The value that this added to. Like lesson number 15.
I know what you mean.
What did you share with us on lesson 15?
I didn't bring that with me. And my brain's an overload right now because I'm really emotional. But anyway, the value that this brought to me was that, like I said, I love Regina today. I call her my friend. I have more prospects. They did teach me how to write resumes so that they benefit the employer, not me, but the employer. We had a bevy of wonderful mentors that came in and mentored to us. And like I said, Sarah was my mentor 2 weeks in all the way to the end. And she taught me a lot. She taught me how to be compassionate for people. She taught me how to love one another, somebody else besides myself. And she taught me how not to talk harshly to or about other people, especially in public. And it's funny that she should post on her Facebook this last Sunday how her husband says that she's got so much love for others and needs to see it more in herself. She'll be my lifetime friend. Veronica will be. She invited me to come. She was my orientator. Sherry she calls and says, "Hey, let's go to dinner." Never had that before. I mean, I wasn't going to do this. Jobs for Life, I was the graduating class of the 3rd class, which ended February 4th or 5th. 5th. And now I'm a mentor. I'm a mentor to Somebody that I hope that I can bring alongside in the program and teach. She'll be fun to work with, and I wouldn't have got this without Love Inc. first, and then Jobs for Life, and it just means the world to me. Oh, and not that it's any big deal, but I've registered it for school, and I'm going to start going to school in the spring.
That is a big deal.
I wouldn't have had the confidence in myself. Oh, and just in case anybody's wondering, I am in remission from the cancer.
Good job. Oh my gosh. Well, we had to have something after that dessert, right? Oh. Okay. How can you in the audience step into this journey with us? We need more men and women who will be willing to be a mentor. And I wrote down here in our summer session, but we actually had one female mentor who wasn't able to stick with it, so we need to recruit one more woman mentor who would be willing to share a Wednesday night with someone in our program. And you can come up and tell me who you are after I'm done talking. Let's see. What else did I put? I need to raise $10,000 for the program this year to use for our gas cards that we give to the students. Each time they come to a program, they do the homework, we give them a $15 gas voucher, and that way we don't have any excuses why they couldn't get there. We help pay their gas to get them there. And you know, some of them have, oh gosh, you don't think $15 is very much, but some of them actually lived on that $15 gas voucher. One of the gals that was in our program out in Graham lived in her car and had no job, and that $15 was feeding her each week. We also have twice as many students now, so we have to raise more money to be able to pay the gas vouchers for each of those people. And I need to raise $2,000 for the workbooks. Each student and each mentor receives a workbook. It costs us about $200,000 a year to run our ministry, and it all depends on the donations we receive. I spent a week last year writing up a 25 pages of reports and proposals to a foundation to be able to hire one director position just to run the Jobs for Life program. After 7 months of planning to expand the program leadership, we heard back last night that they chose not to fund us. I wish they could see what we see and how valuable this is to people's lives. Ideally, we are hoping you will consider making monthly donations that will help us with our expenses. Through your online banking would be the best. We can send out monthly reminders, but online banking helps us it saves us a lot of time by not having to send out reminders each month and pay the postage that we pay to send them out. In our summer program, we can use people to help us make and serve the meals. We will likely hold this program at our Christian bookstore because churches kind of slow down on activities in the summer with everyone on vacations, and we don't want there to be a lull in providing this program to the community. We are also currently have a really small board of directors. There's 5 people on our board, and I think when Mark said something about the board, I only saw 2 people stand up, but the others were probably working. Can the board members just stand up again for 1 minute? I know we have Christina over here, Mark, Michael, Kat. I just want, who else? We have a really small board of directors right now, and I know that there's going to be some new board members. There's always new board members that join after our fundraiser dinner. So I'm looking forward to seeing which one of you tables produces us a new board member. Okay. I'd like to introduce one more person to you to share about what has happened as she stepped into our journey, into this movement of God. We met 1.5 years ago on Facebook. Her sister and I graduated from high school together a few years back. We met at Diane's house a few times. I put on my Facebook that I was starting up another Bible study class at the Love Inc. secondhand Christian bookstore called Experiencing God, Knowing and Doing the Will of God. The best ever way to deepen your walk and relationship with the Lord, in my opinion. I'll let her tell you the rest of that story, but as I got to know this woman, I could see who God created her to be, but she wasn't feeling it at the time in her life. She had so much untapped potential to help women by sharing how God has helped her in various seasons in her life. She is a treasure trove of encouragement. In one of our toughest years in ministry, she came alongside of me. And for the first time in a while, God gave me someone with eyes to see how hard running a ministry is. The time investment and the energy it took to run a ministry outside of the church, but for the church, for the kingdom of God. She came alongside of me as my encourager to cheer me on one step at a time. I'm forever grateful for this woman. Let me introduce Kat Kimball.
I put on Facebook the other day that it's really easy for me to encourage other people, but sometimes it's really hard for me to encourage myself. And Sherry came on and posted a comment that said, "Wait till you hear my introduction on Friday." She said, "I'm going to encourage you." So thank you, Sherry. I'd also like to say that I was very proud at the last Jobs for Life class to be able to oversee graduation as a substitute instructor, and I was able to hand Regina her diploma and Julie hers. And I just have to say, Julie, I think from class 1 to class 16, I think you, I don't want to say improved, but you improved more than any other student. I watched your heart change from week 1 to week 16. And when I gave you your graduation, your diploma, and you spoke, I wept. But what I really wanted to do was jump up and down and yell, "Yay!" because it was really, really awesome to see. So, about this time last year, I was in a really dark place. I'd closed my retail business that I loved because of the economy. I had to sell my dream home, and I'd moved 5 times in 6 years. Growing up, all I'd ever dreamed of was a family and a home of my own. But at the age of 55, I felt like a failure, and I felt like a disappointment to my grown children. I've struggled with depression most of my adult life. And this time last year, it crushed me flat. I isolated myself, and I rarely left my house. I felt useless. I felt worthless. And as much as I loved God, I felt like I had nothing of value to offer him. My life had lost all purpose. And one day, Sherry Finnessy posted on Facebook that she was going to lead a Bible study called Experiencing God. I knew that I needed to sign up. I didn't even think about it. I just said yes. Then I spent the next 6 weeks or so dragging myself to Bible study once a week. But you know what? Every time I showed up, God showed up too. And then one week in our Bible study, I read this. When you see the Father at work around you, that is your invitation to adjust your life to him and join him in that work. And I knew that God was pointing me in the direction of serving with Love Inc. I had watched Sherry, and I had seen her huge heart for the community that she lives in and loves and works in and serves in. And I knew that I was supposed to join that and help her continue to be able to do what she does so well. That night, Sherry emailed me and said, "So, do you want to be a mentor or on the board of directors?" Excuse me. I backpedaled from board of directors as far as I could go. I knew I wasn't ready for that level of responsibility and commitment yet. So I said, I'll be a mentor. I had 2 women students to mentor in that first class. I was in the second class, actually, with Michael Follis. And I had 2 students, Sherry Dotson Parker and Ming Fong, the young woman from China. And during that time, I thought being a mentor was going to be me coming alongside and encouraging a student to help them change their lives. But walking alongside these women changed my life. I saw them work so hard to overcome the roadblocks in their lives. Ming Fong came from China, and in the very first class, Sherry asked a student to read, and nobody said anything, and she leaned forward at the table and said, "I will, but my English isn't very good." She then proceeded to read the entire page and only stumbled on one of the last big words. I remember leaning over and looking at her and saying, "Don't ever say your English isn't very good anymore." In 1 year that she came here, she knew no English when she came here, and her husband did not speak Chinese. So she went to Pierce College in English as a second language, and in 1 year, she learned to speak English, read English, and write English. She had lots of other roadblocks too. She didn't have a Social Security card yet. She didn't have a driver's license. In the middle of our class was September, and I knew the Puyallup Fair was going to be hiring, and I told her that. She went through the process, got her Social Security card, got a driver's license, went down to the Puyallup Fair, took 2 of her other Chinese friends from class with her, and they all 3 got hired by the Puyallup Fair to work at Earthquake Burgers. And Sherry and I laughed because both of our first jobs were at the Puyallup Fair. And now Ming Fong, she really wants to be in purchasing and sales for Starbucks. So she keeps applying there. But in the meantime, she left Earthquake Burgers and got another job. She couldn't be here tonight because she's working. And she has since helped to co-mentor 2 other students, including one in the new class that just started. So it just to see that change in their lives is so amazing. And during that class, Sherry asked me again, would I consider being on the board of directors? And this time I had come far enough that I said yes. I knew they had that need. So I am, my little name tag says Kat Kimball, board member. And I am the newest board member at Love Inc. I volunteer at the Love's Treasury, the bookstore, 1 day a week. And during the last Jobs for Life session, I was the substitute instructor for 3 weeks and was blessed to help oversee graduation. And as you said, I wept with joy to stand there and watch them. One young man was so quiet. But when he got up to speak, he talked about that in the month before, he had gotten his GED, and we didn't even know it. And not only that, but he and his wife had separated because he hadn't been able to get her keep a job. But during this time, she saw him working so hard that they reconnected. And at graduation night, with him up there in his white cap and gown, and his pictures over here, his wife, his children, his grandmother, 8 of his family members showed up to watch him graduate to surprise him. Many of the students come to class, they're kind of coming from a shame-based place. Our society says if you don't have a job or if you don't have a good job, you really don't have a lot of worth and value. We meet people and the first thing we say is, what do you do? And so one of the things that Jobs for Life does is it gives them hope. A lot of them come with broken trust. They have trust issues. They've been disrespected a lot. And My dear friend Kathy England was the head of the women's ministry at our church for a year, and she spent an entire year at every function trying to teach the women of our church, myself included, that don't take your worth and value from who the world says you are. Take your worth and value from who God says you are. And God says you are his beautiful, beloved, cherished, adored, forgiven, and healing child. And that's what I want to help teach these students, that they walk in there shame-based and they walk out of there 16 weeks later with their cap and gowns going, woohoo, huh, ladies? And proud of that graduation certificate because it means so much to them. And so it doesn't just change their life, it changed their children's lives and their significant others' lives, and it changes the mentor's life. And I never expected that. I thought I was going to help them, and they helped me. And my life has changed because of them. And I'm really, really grateful. I'm grateful that Sherry Finnessy saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. And I lost my page. So last week, Sherry sent me a message and said, your new cards are in at the office. And I said, what? And I'm holding my new business card. It's a Love Inc. business card because I have just been asked to be the mentor coordinator for Love Inc. of Pierce County in the Jobs for Life program. If you had told me a year ago that I would be standing here today, I'd probably still be under the covers. I wouldn't be poking my head out. Now, I get to be the encourager to the encouragers. I get to come alongside awesome Christian men and women who are serving this community in ways you can't even imagine. They give so much of not only their time, but of their hearts and their souls. I am the happiest when I'm using the skills, talents, abilities that God has blessed me with to serve him through people. We just started class 4 and 5, and I'm so excited to see what God has in store for this new batch of students and mentors. God led me from darkness to light, the light of Jesus Christ. But first I had to say yes and step out my front door. Do you need to step out yours? Thank you.
Well, I have the honor of being the closer. So hang in there. I just want to say that I'm not as active in Love Inc. as I'd like to be. I do support them financially, but tonight was really